female popes, black Nazis, indigenous founding fathers. Somehow Google's Gemini launch managed to be woke and racist at the same time. In their defense, they were trying to solve for bias in AI. But boy, and girl, and non-binary people, did they miss the mark. I promise this isn't going to get political. We all need a break, California. However, this is going to get factual. We thought machines would be neutral in decision making, yet bias sneaks into algorithm. But why? Should all care about bias in AI. Why? Because algorithms make life-changing decisions about us, whether to hire us for a job, we all hate ATS, to lend us money for a home, or to cover our healthcare bill. And you might be getting rejected not because of facts, but because of bias. Bias disproportionately affects minority groups, but don't think you're off the hook just because you're straight white male. Wait, is this bias? Even straight white males can face bias. Some algorithms are getting corrected for historical misrepresentations and might overcompensate. Google Gemini. So we all need to understand what bias is and what causes it. So what's bias? Bias is an imbalanced weight in favor of or against an idea, a person, or a group of people, usually in a way that it's inaccurate and unfair. For me, saying Rio de Janeiro is the best city in Brazil, it's a biased opinion since I was born in Rio. And we're all biased to think bias is always negative, and we will go there. But bias has also positive aspects too, like helping with cognitive efficiency. It's our brain's way of taking mental shortcuts. For example, you are at the grocery store and your favorite healthy cereal is out of stock. You trust the brand, so you grab it out of the cereal from the same line without overthinking. You assume it's just as good. This quick decision saves you from comparing a million other options. And let's not forget about survival. Ever heard of the negative bias of the brain? It was crucial for our ancestors to stay alert to dangers. Now, what it's not bias, it's when you collect enough data. And enough is a very important word here, because with enough data, you can call it a statistical reasoning. In real life, our decision making often involves a mix of cognitive bias and statistical reasoning. Then someone had a brilliant idea. Let's remove humans from decision making because we're biased and let the algorithms make decisions since they are neutral. AI bias isn't just a technical glitch, it's an ethical mess. Amazon reportedly scraps internal AI recruiting tool that was biased against women. The secret program penalized applicants that contain the word women, as Maya pinned the phrase women's chess club. It can also happen against age. Tutoring firm settles US agents' first bias lawsuit involving AI software. The 2022 lawsuit against iTutorGroup Inc. was the first by the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission (EEOC) involving a company's use of AI to make employment decisions. EEOC had alleged that iTutorGroup in 2020 programmed online recruitment software to screen out women aged 55 or older and men who were 60 or older. And one of my favorite bias analysis are names. OpenAI's GPT is a recruiter's dream tool. Tests show there's a racial bias. Bloomberg used GPT to generate 8 different resumes and then added them to have the same level of education attainment, years of experience, and job title. The key difference is the name of the fictitious candidate and whether it's statistically associated with men or women who are either Black, white, Hispanic, and Asian. Those demographically distinct names, which were derived from census and North Carolina voter data, were randomly assigned to each of the 8 resumes. Then reporters from GPT to rank the resumes to identify the most qualified candidates for a real job opening at the Fortune 500. Even though the resumes are all equally qualified, GPT ranked its top candidates for the role. Is this discrimination or random? A single run of the experiment won't tell us if GPT makes biased decisions, just as a single hiring decision would not tell us if a hiring manager was biased. It's only after repeating the experiment 1,000 times using hundreds of different names and combinations that Bloomberg uncovered clear signs of name bias discrimination. Resumes with name distinct to Black Americans were the least likely to be ranked as a top candidate. If GPT treated all resumes equally, each of the 8 demographic groups would be ranked as the top candidate 1/8, 12.5% of the time. These are just some of the AI bias real examples in the job market, but you might be getting lower credit lines also because of bias. The Apple Card didn't see gender, and that's the problem. The Apple credit cards ran into major problems when users noticed that it seemed to offer smaller lines of credit to women than to men. And if you are one of the co-founders' wives, you are not immune to bias. The same thing happened to us. We have no separate bank accounts or credit cards or assets of any kind. Lucky wife. We both have the same high limits on our cards, including our Amex Centurion cards, but 10 times on the Apple card. As society, we definitely don't want to create another chatbot like Microsoft Stay from 2016, which became sexist and racist in 24 hours, or produce another soap dispenser like the one back at Facebook's office in 2017, which didn't work for Black people. So why does algorithm bias or AI bias happen? Let's do a quick technical recap on algorithms. There are two main approaches to creating an algorithm: traditional programming and machine learning. In traditional programming, developers write explicit instructions, or the code, for the computer to follow. Traditional programming is best for tasks with well-defined rules, like the TurboTax algorithm to file taxes. In machine learning, instead of writing explicit instructions, developers create a model framework, and with a large amount of training data, AI learns to make decisions by finding patterns in this data. For example, a facial recognition AI learns from data sets of photos, while a text-generating AI learns from existing writing. In a non-technical sense, but in a way that might help you think about it, the data is the code. Machine learning is best for tasks with complex pattern recognition, such as Netflix recommendation systems. There are three critical stages where bias can occur in AI. In AI here, I'm including both non-generative AI and generative AI, like ChatGPT. The three stages are in the training data, in the algorithm design, and in the predictions. Bias in the training data. This occurs when the data collected by humans is not representative of the entire population. For example, if a data set used to train a facial recognition system consists mainly of an image of people from a specific ethnic group, the model may perform poorly on faces from other ethnic groups. Or if a resume screening AI is trained primarily on male resumes, it might discriminate against female applicants. Bias in the algorithm design. Humans pick not only the data that the algorithm will learn from, but also design how the algorithm will learn. Depending on the features included or excluded, a model's predictions can be skewed. For example, including a feature like zip codes in a loan approval model might indirectly introduce racial bias if certain ethnic groups are concentrated in specific areas. Like me and my Brazilians, we all like to live very close by in the US. An absurd example for me is the use of credit score in car insurance. 85% of companies use your credit history to calculate your insurance premium. To me, that's like saying, oh, people who buy vegetables usually drive more cautiously. Of course, my dear California doesn't allow this, and neither do other states like Hawaii. Third, biasing the predictions. Now, even with fair initial data and algorithms, model results can still be skewed due to economic changes or due to feedback loops. Imagine there is an economic shift that increases the number of gig workers. This new data can make models' predictions less accurate because it's different from the training data when we had a lower number of gig workers, potentially leading to biased outcomes unfairly. Feedback loops are interesting. They can happen when a model's results are used as data for future predictions. For example, an online marketplace algorithm. It starts off with a balanced data set showing different product recommendations. Here's the thing, young adults tend to shop online more often. As historical purchases get fed back into this model, eventually everyone starts seeing recommendations that were tailored to young adults. Who loses when the model becomes young adult bias? Well, all the brands that are not in this niche. If you have time, watch the documentary Coded Bias on Netflix. It showcases racial and gender bias in artificial intelligence, specifically like facial recognition technology in Black people, amassed by Dr. Joy Bulawini. She's an MIT Media Lab alum and created the Algorithm Justice League to continue fighting against bias in AI algorithms. I'm a big fan of hers. Dr. Joy, if you're watching this, it's because I made it. Another great piece to look at is Bloomberg's Humans are biased. Generative AI is even worse. Stable Diffusion text-to-image model, a model by Stability AI, amplifies stereotypes about race and gender. How can companies solve AI bias? First, collect diverse and representative data. This is the most important approach. Companies must ensure the training data is diverse and representative of different groups. And here, having inclusive AI development teams can be very helpful, as people from various backgrounds can spot potential bias early and design more equitable systems. Second, conduct regular audits and updates. These audits should include reviewing the outcomes of the AI's decisions and comparing them against established fairness criteria to ensure that no particular group is being unfairly disadvantaged. Third, transparency. Companies should be open. Companies really should be open. Real open, not kind of fake open, about how their AI systems work and the data they use. This allows for external audits and accountability. Fourth, establish ethical guidelines for AI development and deployment. These guidelines should lay out the best practice for data collection, model training, and decision-making process that are aligned with human values. Fifth, legislation. Tech companies, don't be biased against me, but I think governments should implement regulations that require companies to regularly test their AI system for bias and take corrective actions when needed. I know that everything becomes very political very fast in today's world, and we are all getting very tired of it. But I hope you can see that AI bias is not political. It's an ethical issue. It challenges our values of fairness, justice, and equality. Fixing AI bias isn't just tweaking a code. It's about tackling bigger societal issues. We can build AI systems that amplify bias or that help eradicate it. So instead of just accepting an algorithm's rejection, let's encourage the tech companies to explain their whys. I call it algorithm closure. Until our next, but why?